blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has arrived. Chinese proverb. And I welcome Chelsea and Ethan up for our special music today.
So this song is called Medicine and was composed by the group Rising Appalachia. Wise men say that rushing is violence, and so is your silence when it's rooted in compliance. Stand firm in loving defiance, make art your alliance, give voice to the fire. Move people to the beat of the wind, gather yourself and begin to dance the song until it ends. We are winners, champions of the light, forming in numbers and might. Keep the truth close, medicine woman, medicine man. Walking with grace, I know your face and I trust your hands. Medicine woman, medicine man. Walking with grace, I know your face and I trust your hands. Find your teachers in the voice of the forest. Unplug, you can't ignore this wisdom of the voiceless. Remedies are bountiful and surround us from the garden to the farthest. Prayer made of stardust. Find your healing in the music that calls you, the voice that enthralls you. What do you belong to? Eyes out, there's the setting of the sun. Give thanks to each and every one. The lesson is the medicine woman, medicine man. Walking with grace, I know your face and I trust your hands. Medicine woman, medicine man. Walking with grace, I know your face and I trust your hands. I believe in bending backwards and extending in my trap strip back into the messages in action. And your yard is feeding, stop, start the disbelief, because the garden holds the shards, the medicines in the seeds. When we hold tight to our right to protect, and we know our might is tenfold in connection. Our elders hold them bright lights, we protect them. The medicine is evident, the wolf, the hawk, the bear clan. We hold tight to our right to protect, and we know our might is tenfold in connection. Our elders hold them bright lights, we protect them. The medicine is evident, the wolf, the hawk, the medicine woman, medicine man. Walking with grace, I know your face and I trust your hands. Medicine woman, medicine man.
Thank you. That was beautiful. Love the words. This community of care is created through our word and time together, our commitment to one another. This is our covenant, to walk together in loving fellowship, to share our hopes and values. As we pass these baskets, we thank you for your generous gifts, which support the work of this religious community and Unitarian Universalism in the world at large. As a reflection of our values, we are pleased to participate in the Change for Change program. The coins you place in the basket today will support the work of nonprofits around the Grand Valley. With gratitude, we will now receive today's offering. This congregation is a community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to its life, we affirm our lives within it. Please stand as you're willing and able for hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
All right, so I'm going to start with a little story today. And those of you who have been here a while have probably heard it a time or two because I like to sort of share this story once every so often. And the last time we did this, I think Maya and I actually acted it out. But this is called The Cookie Thief by Valerie Cox. A woman was waiting at an airport one night with several long hours before her flight. She hunted for a book in the airport shops, bought a bag of cookies, and found a place to drop. She was engrossed in her book, but happened to see that the man sitting beside her, as bold as could be, grabbed a cookie or two from the bag in between, which she tried to ignore to avoid a scene. So she munched the cookies and watched the clock as the gusty cookie thief diminished her stock. She was getting more irritated as the minutes ticked by, thinking, if I wasn't so nice, I'd blacken his eye. With each cookie she took, he took one too. When only one was left, she wondered what he would do. With a smile on his face and a nervous laugh, he took the last cookie and broke it in half. He offered her half as he ate the other. She snatched it from him and thought, oh, brother, this guy has some nerve and he's also rude. Why he didn't even show any gratitude? She had never known when she had been so galled, and sighed with relief when her flight was called. She gathered her belongings and headed to the gate, refusing to look back at the thieving ingrate. She boarded the plane and sank in her seat. Then she sought her book, which was almost complete. As she reached in her baggage, she gasped with surprise. There was her bag of cookies in front of her eyes. If mine are here, she moaned in despair, the others were his, and he tried to share. Too late to apologize, she realized with grief that she was the rude one, the ingrate, the thief. So I want us to take just a moment, and I want us to maybe close our eyes and think about, what does it feel like to be right? When you are right and you know that you're right, what does that feel like in your body? So, and we've done this meditation before, but I think it's a good reminder because we're in times when I think a lot of us in this country feel like we're right. But when I feel like I am right, I realize if I really feel into my body, my face gets a little crumpled and I get a little bit tense in my heart chakra, and my fists clench just a little bit, and I'm ready. I am ready to be right, and I'm ready to prove that I'm right. And you know what? Feeling right doesn't actually, at least in my body, it doesn't actually feel very good. And so a few years ago, we had kind of an energy workshop with one of my friends, Deb Stedden, and we talked about this, like, what does it mean to be right and to know that you're right and insist that you're right? And what I realized, at least for me, is that I realized that the opposite of being right is not being wrong. The opposite of being right is being centered and grounded. And as I've been thinking about this over the years, there is a difference between knowing that you're right and being able to be centered and grounded, calm and steady in your truth. And I want us to think about that just for a moment, okay? What is the difference between being right and knowing your truth? For me, it's a completely different experience in my body, and it's a completely different experience of how I interact in the world. When I am right, I am ready for conflict. I don't know that I'm really open for conversation. I want to impose my view, my way of being, my knowingness on somebody else because I need to, on some level, change them. When I am standing in my truth, I've actually kind of let go of being right, and that sort of inner wisdom comes from someplace outside of me. It comes down and it feels grounded, it feels centered. And when I can stand in my truth, I don't have any need for the person around me to be any different or to change, or for me to be in control of how they are. So I'm not saying, especially, as we are entering into this election cycle and the next few weeks, we hear people being right. There's a lot of being right. We're going to have a debate on Tuesday where probably both sides are going to be working on being right. But I invite you to think about what that energy does to the people who are being right, what that energy does to us. And then I invite you to look around in your world and find the people, because they're around, the people who are going through their lives, going through their world, sort of just standing in their own divine sense of being, standing in their own inner truth. And which people do we feel more comfortable around? Somebody who is just being who they are, expressing who they are, with a little bit of laughter and joy and groundedness, kindness and compassion, or somebody who is ready to almost pick a fight. And we can see that on the left and on the right, because the energy of being right is just energy. And so I feel like it is important for us to sort of know where we stand, because hope does not lie in the prospect of being proven right. Being right is actually sort of a flimsy and fleeting state of being, and there's nothing to ground ourselves on. So the hope and the optimism, the inspiration must come from a different place. It comes from the confidence in our own ability to stay grounded and centered and calm, even in the midst of the chaos around us or the chaos of others. Last week, I talked a little bit about what is more important. Is it more important to reach the end goal, or are the means of how we get to that goal more important? And I've been intentionally sort of taking my own advice all week, thinking, okay, If I want to accomplish this, what are the steps that I'm going to take to accomplish this? Are they rooted in compassion and love and an ideal outside of myself that's going to help me get to the school? Or am I starting to get sucked into some of that energy of conflict? And the example I gave last week was if a person wants to be healthy and perhaps lose 10 or 20 pounds, that person can either starve themselves and maybe lose the weight, or they can intentionally choose step by step to be intentional about what they're eating, about how they're exercising, about whether or not they're sleeping. And eventually you get to the other side where in an ideal world, you've lost your 20 pounds, but are you healthier at that end goal? Or are you dehydrated and depleted and about to pass out? We can still get to that end goal, but we need to be intentional about the steps we're taking to get there so that at the end of the road that we're working on, we're energized, we're excited, we're grounded, we're centered, we're ready to go, we're ready to continue moving forward, instead of feeling like we just ran a marathon and we barely made it across the finish line and now we're all collapsing. It's the same finish line, but two very different ways to get there. And so that's what I'm talking with you all about today, is because there's nothing wrong with having an end goal. And there's nothing wrong with looking at the world around us and thinking, okay, this is where I want it to go. This is the end result that I'm looking for. And there is a deep sense of inner truth in me that one way is healthier, more joyful, better for our heart, mind, spirit, and soul than this other aspect or this other opportunity to go a different way. We don't have to throw that away, but the invitation from me is to be intentional about how we're getting there, because it does really matter. And so how do we get there? If we are wanting to be here and we kind of know that this is, at least for me, it's pretty clear that, now I'm going to contradict myself and say that there's one right way and one wrong way, but we get to that joy and that optimism and that truth and that connection and that community. Perhaps we get there by being kind. Perhaps we can get there by being gentle with ourselves and the people around us. Perhaps we can get there by offering a genuine smile to the people around us, a genuine smile to those of us we said good morning to this morning, but also there's so much good that can be done just in a grocery store. Because if you think about it, if you think about the people who are scanning our groceries at Walmart or Safeway, they're interacting with hundreds, if not thousands of people a day. And they're a little touch point. If we are one of the people that can look at them in the eyes and give a genuine smile and say, "How are you? Thank you." If we're able to lift them up, they can look at the person behind us and maybe give that back, offer a genuine smile, "How are you?" And all of a sudden, we've started to make a little bit of change in the world around us, regardless of what the people around us think or believe, or whether they're right or wrong. They're experiencing a genuine, kind smile. That is a means to an end. And in my mind, being joyful, being kind, is not a weakness. It is not weak to express love. It is not weak to show kindness. That's actually very, very powerful. But it comes from that inner sense of truth and groundedness, that inner knowing. And so, in the next few weeks, the invitation is not to withdraw from the world, is not to go home and hide in our houses or, turn off the news or don't pay attention to anything. We can be engaged and we can be connected. But as Maya showed with the kids, sometimes when relationships are strained or damaged or actually severed, sometimes we can reconnect, we can tie that string back together, and it can be stronger. And sometimes, if it's not good for us, sometimes some of those relationships might need to be separated for just a little while until we can get back into our own place where we are grounded and centered and strong enough and healthy enough to say, okay, I'm able to reach out to you again because I know that who I am, my inner strength is coming from something deeper than this relationship, so that if this relationship falls, I don't have to fall with it. And when we're coming from that state of being, then we can have our ball of thread and say, can we reconnect? But it's going to be hard to reconnect if we're so busy trying to be right, and we know the person we're trying to reconnect to is trying to be right. We might not get there. So I asked you all to think about what it feels like to be right. And now I'm going to ask you what it feels like to be, what it feels like in your body when you're grounded and centered and secure in your own sense of inner knowing, your own sense of inner knowing and truth. What does that feel like? It feels a little different, doesn't it? Hopefully, maybe you feel a little bit stronger. You feel a little bit more grounded, and you feel a little less vulnerable to being pushed over. Because that strength is coming from a deeper, deeper place than just our mind and our thinking. I wonder how many times how much time Mother Teresa spent trying to prove that she was right. I don't know if she ever tried to prove to anybody that she was right. I don't think she had time to be right. She was too busy showing compassion and offering care to spend her time and her resources on being right. And At the same time, her caring and her compassion changed hearts. And those changed hearts resulted in changed systems. And the changed systems resulted in changed lives. Mother Teresa was not trying to be right. She was simply being grounded, kind, gentle, and she showed up. She was asked one time in an interview, "How did you do it? How did you change so many lives?" And she responded in her very humble, gentle way. She said, "One at a time. If I had not picked up that first dying man in the street, I would never have picked up the other 40,000. One at a time. One at a time." And yet, none of that change occurred because she was right. It occurred because she was centered, grounded, loving, and compassionate. And then she acted out of that state of being. It's very simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. So I want to end with a quote, some words from one of the people who I like to follow, his blog, John Pavlovitz. He wrote, and this was years ago, this was in 2017, he wrote, "The truth is, dear friend, there are far more people in this place working for equality, diversity, love, and justice than opposing them, and it isn't even close. There are hundreds and millions of people in this world who, just like you, wake up every day trying to be the kind of person the world needs, lavish with compassion, overflowing with generosity, relentless with love. You are, even when you're not aware of it, surrounded on all sides by like-hearted people who are not okay with the suffering around them either. So today, take down the sticky notes of disappointment and sadness so that you're able to see the landscape clearly. Scan the horizon for the builders, the lovers, the helpers, the healers, and allow them the precious bandwidth they deserve. Let yourself be encouraged by the awesome, beautiful, brilliant goodness that still occupies this place, and allow a new word to ascend to the top spot in your mind where it belongs. May hope trend in your head today." Maybe it's time to let go of being right. Let us sing together. Now, number 160 in your gray hymnal, "Far Too Long" by Fear Divided. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go now in peace. Amen.